Hello everybody and welcome to the IMB World Series GT3 Championship EU. We are into round 3 of this season now, and after two fantastic openers in the first couple, ending with Hockenheim last week, we are ready at the Red Bull Ring to go racing once again at this wonderful circuit, this very fast and fairly hilly circuit indeed. Expecting more great racing with 56 cars on the grid once again, as you can see from these images here. It's very busy out there. It's going to be very busy throughout the night. My name is Ian O'Leary. I'm alongside Zach Sweeney to try and keep on top of it all. And Zach, I feel like last week we had problems because maybe the width of the circuit at the Hockenheim was not so large. This time, this circuit is not so long, and so this track all of a sudden feels very, very crowded.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Red Bull Ring is one of the shorter circuits we have on the calendar. It's only got 10 corners, and in length I think it's around about 4 kilometers long, if I remember correctly. Not exactly sure, but yeah, it is a very short circuit, but it's a very good circuit as well, with 3 consecutive straights, with 3 consecutive overtaking opportunities, so it should be pretty good. And with the standings as close as these, well, we're going to see some great action too.
Only 4 races out of the 20 done so far, but you get the point. Stuart Reynolds is having a good time of it so far. 7 points ahead of Neil Butler, then Jonas Dreyer, who's been doing well under the radar for 3rd. Kieran Smart and Chris Chatterton rounding out your top 5, although with no disrespect to them, you could argue that those top 5 drivers are not the top 5 in terms of pace. And so when some of these drivers start to string things together a bit, then we might see something different. But then again, you need consistency, and that's what those guys have at the moment. Lucas Romano has a bit of it as well, by the looks of things. 11 points ahead of Felix Perley, retains his championship lead through round 2. John Williams is up to 3rd after a good Hockenheim. And we move on to the AM standings as well, because we're getting quite close towards the race. Dirk Boutz is leading that one by only 4 points ahead of Tony Norgrad, and they've managed to get a bit of space with the likes of Connor Bodting, Carl Pearson, Gus Franken, who round out the top 5. Gap's already getting quite big there, especially down outside the top 5, where they're already over 50 points adrift in this season, which is quite a lot so early on in the race. We just saw there that Stuart Reynolds is topping the championship right now, and he's also topping that qualifying session. He's got pole position right now. And so it's we're not going to be able to show you the grid just for the moment, but I'll tell you about it briefly if I can. Stuart Reynolds is on the pole position ahead of Elliot Hellier. Then we've got Neil Butler and Thomas Reiter on the next row. Kenny Hermans has managed to get up into 5th place in the grid. Good performance from him. Louis Gardner in that 6th place. Interesting to see that Albin Kjellberg is all the way down in 12th in the pro field. As I mentioned, just a couple of technical difficulties at the moment, which is making things a little bit difficult, but hopefully we will be ready for the race by the time it rolls around. The drivers have just started rolling around incidentally for their formation lap. 54 of them have gotten out there. I think Dean Timms is going to be a pit lane starter, and Martin Buchan may well be a pit lane starter as well, but we'll wait and find out on that. Can tell you that they are on the formation lap right now, although I know you can't see it at home. We'll try and tell you about the start the best we possibly can, and keep you informed as best as we possibly can in the situation that we're in. They're just into the final couple of corners. The formation lap not long around here, as none of them are really on iRacing, using the slightly shorter formation lap. And they're going to roll up towards the start-finish line now with Stuart Reynolds in control of the field. Championship leader, of course, in the pro category and overall, and pole position for this race as well. The lights are going to come on, and just as quickly they will go out, and Stuart Reynolds will be in control of the field. He hasn't gone off to a very early start, but he's gone off to a good one. And he'll lead the field into turn number 1, able to take the racing line, indeed, into turn number 1. And there he goes. Out there, Elliot Hellier holds on to 2nd with Neil Butler in 3rd. Thomas Reiter holds on to 4th. The top 4 staying in the positions that they were in as they head up to what is literally turn 3, I suppose. Stuart Reynolds holds on to the lead. A little bit of side-by-side for 3rd in the background, but not a lot doing. It looks like most of them have gotten away to a clean start.
Yeah, for the most part, and Elliot Hellier is trying to hammer some pressure onto the Mercedes in front of him, and you can just see already the slipstream change that's starting to form. We've got a ton of cars, all single file, a couple of fights for what is going to be 5th place in the background between Louis Gardner and Kenny Herman. Kenny Herman there on the inside, Gardner trying to go the long way round as they run through turn 4 and in towards the Sinfield section. It was Gardner that was able to stay in front for 5th place, but now the Ferrari trying to get into the mix. That's Andy Miller, but for now the championship leader has gotten away really well.
Absolutely has. I think Albin Kjellberg went off, by the way, at that corner there. That was turn 4. I think he went off into the gravel slightly, because he made a very good start, and he's back to 11th now. But either way, still going. I don't think he's got any damage. He might not have even been off that badly. But he certainly picked up an off track as we go through the final couple of corners right now. Stuart Reynolds in control of this race, in control of his own destiny at the moment, as they all run through. The amount of straights on this circuit, though, is going to make it very difficult for him to get away. He will get slipstreamed by Elliot Hellier all the way to the line, you would imagine. Hellier, by the way, is down in 12th now in the championship as a result of not attending the Hockenheim round. He was there at Spa, of course, the first round of the season, but not there last week, and so that will likely be his drop round unless he misses any more. So that will save him a little bit, but even so, not a great place to be in. But what we are seeing, I've got to say, I'm a little bit surprised because of the nature of this circuit and how raceable it is. A lot of single file in these opening moments, everybody looking to just settle in despite the fact it's only a 25-minute race.
Yeah, it's weird, but again, around the Red Bull Ring, because of the slipstream and because there's so much opportunity for overtaking, is that you don't really consolidate moves so easily. You get a move done, and very quickly it can, they can launch a counter-attack and get you back. If you go from moving to turn 1, you're likely to be slipstream back towards or up towards turn 3, and then of course the same to turn 4. So you've got to wait, you've got to play the patient game, and of course, with it being such a short circuit, it is quite difficult to make time up. So if you lose that slipstream and you're out of the pack, it's going to be difficult to get back onto the back of those cars in front, similar to the likes of tracks like Monza and Le Mans, where you have to stay in the pack to stay in the fight. So for now, I think everyone's just trying to settle in. For Elliot Hellier, it's going to be a case of just waiting probably for as long as possible, or just waiting for a really good opportunity to launch that attack.
Absolutely, we've seen that indeed with Kenny Harrimans, who's lost the slipstream, and Louis Gardner up in front, so we do have a leading 5, I can tell you right now. A couple more technical problems, we get the overlay sorted. We'll be back very soon with that. I can tell you the leader in Pro-Am is Chris Thacker off of this start. John Williams in second ahead of Lucas Solano. Liam Ahern made a great start. He is up to 4th in the Pro-Am category as we get back with live pictures again. Luce BBA once again is leading in Am, by the way. He's not got a big lead, but he has got one ahead of Connor Potting, and then it's Tony Norgran just up in front of him, then James Slates. Dirk Bout's way down in the Am category, I can tell you, as Tony Norgran has actually gone off the road, just as I say that, in the Am category, so he's falling down the order pretty quickly, but championship leader in the Am category, pretty far down early on. There are our first pictures of the Pro-Ams so far in this race. Apologies that we weren't able to see their start. We barely saw the pros, to be honest. We're having a couple of difficulties, but we're with it now, and it's a BMW 1-2. BMW's everywhere, actually, more than a 1-2 here. We've got 4 in a row, which is a bit of a surprise, and both, of course, John Williams and Chris Thacker leading 1 and 2 right now. So interesting to see the different car selections that they've gone for here. The BMW clearly very strong here, but only it seems in Pro-Am so far, all across the top 4 right now. But it is very close, as you'd expect to see.
Everyone is really, really close, and we've got Mercedes leading the pros, and yeah, the Porsches are also, quite far up here. Here's Anthony Letts, who is of course a race winner this season, took the win back in Spa for race 1, so he definitely knows his way around the racetrack. He at the moment is in P3, and of course in the Porsche we've got a 1-2 with Audis in the AMs. This is Juho Huhtinen, the Finn, who unfortunately went a bit deep going through turn 3, and that car does look slightly damaged, so not entirely sure as to what happened. Also with Dean Timms as well, down in towards T3. Is this potentially the cause of it? No, it just seems to be. Oh, there he is in front, gets tagged round again, and then of course that double tap to the rear right. That is definitely going to cause a bit of an upset to the car.
Yeah, lots of damage to the rear right, as you can see there, as Taylor Lane is back here in the lower reaches of the pro field. Second car swap of the season for him. So he's had 3 different rounds and 3 different car swaps so far. And now in the Porsche, just starting off in the Lamborghini. I think he was in a BMW last week. Now he's in a Porsche. Now he's off the road, off into the gravel at turn 4. And that is a very long trip and very wide as well. He's going to retire by the looks of things. He pulls off into the marshal's post there and retires back to pit lane. Clearly not the only driver to do that. That Audi's quite damaged. Whoever making their way back out of the... That's Alex Bomberg who's just making his way back out there with a really damaged car. We do have a new leader, and Hellier has just taken over from Stuart Reynolds. as Porsche we've seen leading any of these classes all day so far, so that's good news for Hellier, but you get the feeling that this is going to be a battle that continues on, really. The top three have been very evenly matched on pace so far, and you wouldn't expect that to change here in this race.
No, for sure not. And already you can see Stuart Reynolds in the slipstream down up towards turn 3. It is a very steep incline. You can be very late on the brakes. Is the Mercedes going to go for it? No, he's opting just to sit back in behind. But right now we've got Elliot Hellier, Stuart Reynolds and Neil Butler are top 3, and then Louis Gardner as well is up there. He's definitely within the train, all the way down really to Albin Kjellberg up in 9th. We've got cars that are, within a second of each other, so very, very close indeed. This is the fight at the moment for second in the AMS, because Lewis Bouvier's got a bit of a gap ahead of Connor Botting, and well, we've got Bingham and Letts who obviously had a bit of a scrap. There goes Bingham, the move on Connor Botting to the inside of T1. That is always going to be a bit sketchy because he's going to compromise his run, and now what Letts is going to do is brake a little bit early potentially, try and get the cut back on the pair of them and then get the drive off. But again, I think Connor Botting is just going to settle in for what is going to be third place at the moment, and again that counter attack up the hill towards turn 3.
Yeah, it certainly is. Nearly 3 wide here as Bingham goes very defensive, punching through the middle, and Andrew Letts trying to go round the outside of everybody there, not able to do that, and Botting not able to really get the run off the corner that he needed either, as we go to Navarro de Boy in the BMW trying to make his way through on your own range right now. Just finding where the Dirk Bounce is in the standings right now. I think he's made his way into the top 10 maybe, but he can't be too much further up the road than those guys. Oh, he is fairly comfortably inside the top 10 now, having a very good start, and he's already gained 13 places overall. I know some of them would have been due to retirements, but even so, he's having a great start as up towards turn 3 they go again. Albin Kjellberg's having a great start as well here on the outside in his BMW, up the curb, and it's a surprise to see him so far back. Clearly qualifying went badly wrong for Albin Kjellberg, but he's already made up 4 places in the opening 8 minutes of this race. That's a good start for him, but once again in a field that he should be really challenging for wins, pretty much race in, race out, he's once again struggling down the order.
Yeah, it is a shame for Albin Kjellberg because he is very competent as a driver. He is the one that you would rely on really to make those moves and be really quick on pace, but unfortunately for him, he's not been able to quite get the ball rolling. Still trying to make the most of it despite his off on lap 1. He's still running quite well in P8, still within that crucial top 10 reverse grid range as well. So definitely not all over for him, but after the start he's had to this season, I say that, he did take a win last time out at Hockenheim, but he's showing the pace. Of course, the press week at Le Mans he did really well, but for a championship charge he really needs to start getting his act together, really needs to start stringing some good results. And being amongst the mid-pack, amongst the pros, when you've got the likes of Elliot Hellier and Stuart Reynolds 1 and 2, yeah, it's going to be harsh, but he needs to try and limit the damage and make some progress forward.
He does a little bit. Top 2 getting away in Pro-Am, just touching on 10 minutes now, just about into this race. Not sure where all that dirt's coming from, by the way, but anyway, someone needs to have a sweep down there. Back into the Pro-Ams, into the AM category now. 5th place, Carl Pearce, who's just missed the apex ever so slightly down there at turn 7. It's going to hurt him towards the run to the final 2 corners. Jarmo Sestoroinen is very close, but this is not really an overtaking place. As we go back to a replay, this can never end well. 3 wide down towards turn 4, downhill braking zone, awkward apex, and that was an awkward bit of contact there between 2 BMWs. Mark Oliver around, and will get turned around as well, just in time before he gets collected by anybody else, which is good news. But yeah, one of those awkward incidents. I always find turn 4 a very awkward corner, whether you're on your own or with somebody else.
It is a tricky corner, of course. Downhill braking's never going to be easy, and it's one of those where you have to, try and take the car in with its weight as well. You have to trail brake going in, and that is always going to be a little bit more tricky. How much do you brake on the curb? Very easy to go in deep, and of course the gravel trap on the exit there just to add in a bit of extra spice. It's very, very tricky, and to run side by side as well, as you say, it's a little bit awkward because of it does open up a bit on the exit. You don't know how much room you can really get away with giving, and all this, that and the other. It is a pretty tricky corner. Any corner that's downhill braking is going to be tricky, but hey, that's the Red Bull Ring. You know, it's in the Styrian Mountains. It's going to have a ton of undulation. A bit deep though there from the Ferrari of Miller. That could invite Yamantas to have a really good run. Indeed it has. The Mercedes is to the right hand side, and as they come in towards T3 should in theory have this move done, but that Ferrari of Miller is going to go in quite deep on the brakes. Yamantas is going to send one to the inside. They are going to emerge side by side, but with that outside run you can see that Miller's just been able to hang on, but he is going to now be very, very vulnerable because in that skirmish he's lost that slipstream, crucially to Albin Kjellberg.
It's all stemmed from a mistake that Miller made at turn 1 actually, and so that's how that battle really came about. It's a freeway battle towards the lower end of the Pro category. A podium places in Pro-Am though, it's very much on here. Lucas Romano struggling a little bit here by the looks of things. The BMW, clearly the car to have in Pro-Am, but he can't make it work. Oh my word, as that is Kieran Smart off the road, excuse me, Paul Busby is off the road in a big way, and he's got big damage to that Porsche as well. That was coming out of turn 4 and into 5. There's already a spun BMW up in front. That scattered the pack a little bit, and it just, well, that was strange. That was really strange. That looked like a technical fault to me. I wonder if the wheel here of Paul Busby is going to snap to the left. Can't be due to that damage. But oh, maybe he did this himself actually. Yeah, he did. Because that car is really damaged. He was just making sure it was properly damaged.
Just for good measure, because if you're going to go out, you go out with a bang, I suppose. But yeah, that is unfortunate because it was just wrong place, wrong time. He really couldn't have reacted to that, and yeah, an unfortunate way to bring an end to his race. We've already seen a number of retirements, and we're only halfway through the, the sprint race, race 1, only 25 minutes long. We've still got to do the 50-minute race 2. Just after this, so yeah, definitely proven to be quite a tricky circuit, but you know the Red Bull Ring is not notoriously known for being sort of a car killer, so yeah, it is a little bit strange to see the amount of incidents that we've had.
It is a little bit, but then again there's not too much tarmac on the outside of these. I know there is a lot here, but on some of these corners it's pretty hard to come by, as Lucas Romano's gone off the road here. Championship leader in Pro-Am is falling down the order very quickly, and so is John Williams. A couple of the top names in Pro-Am have had problems here. John Williams is into the pit lane straight away, and this was a battle. Williams is just up in front of this, doesn't look involved for now. Oh dear, he's going to get clattered here. Oh my goodness, it's a big crash. Lucas Romano was battling with Liam Ahern, I think that is, and in the end John Williams gets taken out in a very big way. This is one of those awkward incidents. We always fear this at turn 3 at the Red Bull Ring, and it has happened. It looks like Lucas Romano actually came up to the right-hand side a little bit there. John Williams completely innocent, but completely damaged, I'm afraid.
Oh, wow, that is... I mean, they are perfectly in sync as they spun round, but that is so gutting for John Williams because he is driving really, really well in this race, and, you know, in the standings, being P3 in the standings, he's not doing too bad at all. So in the span of one corner, the championship leader in Pro-Ams and the man in 3rd place in the championship standings have both had a bit of an off. Well, I say a bit of an off, pretty big of an off, to say the absolute least, but... yeah, again, Lucas Romano just coming to the right a little bit, getting tagged, and at that point you're going so quickly. The car's at its, you know, sort of peak. They've barely even started braking, and yeah, that is always going to be a pretty big crash. But we turn our attention back to the live action. The fight for 5th rages on amongst the AMs. This is the fight at the moment between Jeremy De Boyver and a fellow BMW down in towards turn 3 again. You can see De Boyver hanging on from Vinez, who is going to try and get the drive off the corner, but thanks to the nature of the circuit, thanks to the slipstream, we're getting some really, really close fights, at least trains of sort of 2 or 3 apiece.
Lucas Romano somehow has been able to continue with the, well, seemingly little damage. John Williams is very damaged and in the pit lane, but Romano's been able to continue here. There he is, 8th place. It doesn't look great, that car at the moment, and I wonder if there is suspension damage. There must be. It was a big hit to the front left of that BMW. But somehow he's still going, and he's in the top 10 as well, which means he's going to benefit for race 2, of course, when we reverse the top 10 and have a 50-minute race. Here are the AM drivers once again. That's Carl Pearce making his way down the inside of James Slates into turn 4. That's how it's supposed to be done, side by side through there. A couple of drivers haven't been able to manage that so far. Now into the middle sector, the medium speed corners. Oh! Chased right off the road there was Carl Pearce, and here comes Bailey just up towards the inside maybe at turn 7, not able to do it there, but close between the two. Clever defending from Slates there, which was interesting. Chased Pierce right up the road, or right towards the outside I should say, but there we are. So we get side by side in the pros as well. Yamatas outside the top 10 now after being in 8th place earlier on. He's now into 10. A number of the bigger names make their way through the order. For some reason Albin Kjellberg is back to 12th again. Not sure how that's happened, but he's coming through on Yamatas now for 11th. There he goes. Thomas Gope and Harry Wills also have only just made their way into the top 10, so not sure what it was about these drivers and not doing that well in qualifying, but they're making up for it now because they're into the top 10. Kjellberg making a nice double overtake really in the middle sector.
Crucially to get him up inside the top 10. This is Navarro de Boiva back in the AMS in towards turn 7. A very tricky corner if you don't get it right over the curb, and unfortunately for him, just looping around, which, yes, fair enough, but not something you often see in GTs. Of course, with ABS and traction control, you don't often see them loop around like that by themselves. Often, usually more in Formula cars and more, high power with no traction control, you'd see that sort of mistake, but hey, it's happened to De Boiva, and it is unfortunate. But yeah, Albin Kjellberg trying to make amends, but he's having a very up and down race, unfortunately for him. This is the fight at the moment for P12. Callum Beeman is leading the way with Thomas Dandridge just in behind. Thomas Reiter trying to follow him through. This is all kicking off, and oh my word, a lot of cars. That's the 79 Porsche, very close to the rear end of Thomas Dandridge as they now exit through turn 3. But yeah, certainly all kicking off, and as you say, a lot of big names really struggling.
It's the Pro-Am fight. A really big train here. Lucas Romano's still involved within it. This is Michael Patterman in one of those Porsches. Looking a little bit sideways through the penultimate corner and then very sideways through the final one. Goes around. Thankfully he doesn't collect anybody else. Oh my word, that was scary. Hopefully he didn't collect anybody else. But didn't quite see the ending of that, presuming that they both got away with that, but it was quite scary. They did get away with it, we're hearing, which is very lucky, but it's been a lot worse. As battle for second continues, Conoverti not involved anymore. He's dropped to 4th and he's driving on his own now, but Anthony Letts wants to have a bit of this by the looks of things. Oh no, sorry, it's Bingham who's gotten away from these guys, and Botting who's trying to take this position away from Letts right now, side by side. He is on the inside at turn 4 and so should be able to manage this, but it will turn to the outside when they get to turn 6, and so that's going to be the end of that. I think he's going to have to stick behind. This battle between the two of them is going to go right to the end as Liam Ahern is coming under pressure from Tony Norgran. There it is, down the inside. Oh, contact between them. Around goes Norgran, Sebastian Norgran I should say. Gone for a half spin, and he could well drop outside the top 5 as a result of that mistake.
Well, we could. Dave Lamming is going to go to the left-hand side and claim that position and pick it up for some easy pickings. There's the Mercedes going slow, just to move out of the way. I think there might be some lap traffic, but yeah, big unfortunate moment there for Sebastian Norgran. He is a very, very quick driver now to the fringes of the top 5. And some killed momentum. This is back to the fight, quite low down in the pros between Callum Beeman trying to go the long way around on Thomas Dandridge through turn 6. That's going to be brave and bold. Is the Porsche going to give him the squeeze on the exit? Very respectful. And now Callum Beeman going to try and go the long way around, or to the inside, sorry, he's in the Porsche. It's Dandridge in the BMW to his outside, and they're still going to run side by side now towards the penultimate corner of turn number 9. They've also got Thomas Reiter to look out for in that Porsche just in behind. Which way is he going to go? He's going to try and look to the inside. Now Beeman's going to go the long way around. That again is going to be brave, a little bit off the circuit, but rejoins, and there's Beeman who now settles in front in that Porsche. You've got to be very careful with the track limits, especially through those final 2 corners, because while they're, some of the only corners that have tarmac runoff, it's very easy to exploit it.
Yeah, and you don't want to get off tracks there, although they are very forgiving, I've got to say, at the off tracks at those 2 particular corners. So you can get away with quite a lot, really. It's up towards turn 3 that these 4 are going to go, if that's not too confusing. Going to be Beeman once again on the defensive from Dandridge, who had a little bit of a look there, and Stuart Reynolds has gotten through. Neil Butler here down the inside into turn 4. Butler's been pushed out wide, and Stuart Reynolds once again is going to increase his championship lead with this one. These two 1 and 2 in the championship, 2 and 3 in the race. We're going to see the replay. Stuart Reynolds was in front really even before they got to the corner. Neil Butler not able to go around the outside there, and he's not got long left to find a way through.
Yeah, really running out of time. 5 minutes and around about 3 or 4 laps, maybe if they're lucky. Again, this fight still between Callum Beam and Thomas Dandridge, Chris Chatterton and Thomas Reiter still raging on for P12. Of course, this is going to be their starting position for race 2, so they do want to start, I guess, as high up as possible. Lucas Romano, despite that massive off that he had, he's driving really well. He's not losing so much pace relative to those around him. Of course, not going to be driving at a race-winning pace by any means, but still running really well in P8. And again, a fight amongst some of the AMs with Carl Pearce on the back of Jarmo Sastimoinen and Bailey just in behind. There is Thomas Reiter going slowly, so maybe a spin or a slowdown. It seems that he's lost it by himself.
Let's see through the final corner again, and the Porsches have been known to be a little bit tricky through there. He also has damage to the rear end. Oh, and he's got more there. Ooh. Dear me, there's a lot of damage now to Thomas Reiter. Slowed down on the front straight. That's actually the Pro-Am leader he's just let by there. And he's got a problem, is what he's got. And he's driven that's a strange bit of physics there to bounce back quite in that way. But anyway, Thomas Reiter's out the race. And so that is going to be it from him here in race 1. By the looks of things, as we go back to the battle for second, 2 laps to go when we get to the line. Elliot Hellier is gone, and he's got nearly 4 seconds worth of a lead. He should be absolutely fine for this one now, but battle for second is not over. Neil Butler is not going to let Stuart Reynolds get away with this one. And they're continuing their record once again of having both of them on the podium in at least one of the races in every round. And it normally comes in race 2. It has done at Spa and Hockenheim. It's coming at race 1 here at the Red Bull Ring. It's the battle for second also in Pro-Am. It's beginning to heat up as well. But once again, BMWs are the recurring theme in this category.
It does seem to be quite the dominant force, it must be said, and driving really well. Between the BMWs and the Porsches, the Pro-Ams is pretty much settled, at least for the front-running lot. So yeah, it just goes to show that the BMWs are quite quick. But then again, we've had races where, you know, some other cars have been quite quick. Again, you have to choose your car for the season, unless your name's Taylor Lane, and sometimes you just pick and choose which one you want race by race. But again, you've got to settle into a car and try and pick the right one that's going to be you know, consistent throughout the season. Yes, you might pick a car to have a really good one round at some point and try and sneak a win or whatever, but yeah, if you're going for a championship, you need to have a good all-round car, and yeah, that at the end of the day, that's what wins championships. Of course, naturally, it is going to settle, but here goes Felix Pell and Sebastian Norgren, I should say, side by side through turn 3 in the dying stages of this race, and it sort of gets to this point, doesn't it, where, you know, now it sort of gloves off. It's anchor down and try and solidify what position you can, because you don't really have much long left to do it.
Well, normally we see that throughout the entirety of race 1, but we haven't really so far. It's been a little bit calmer, but it is going to get very loud towards the end here for Neil Butler. Oh, that was a bit of awkward lap traffic there. Stuart Reynolds had to just skip past the fellow Mercedes on the front straight there, and the white flag's waving. We've got 1 lap to go here at the Red Bull Ring. And Stuart Reynolds is going to try his level best to hold on to second place ahead of Neil Butler. The two of them came into today just 7 points apart in the championship standings. And the way they are right now, Reynolds would increase his championship lead to 9 as it's side by side in the lower reaches of the top 10 in AM as well. Closer side by side for 5th in Pro as these two shouldering off each other. Andy Miller right to the outside of Kenny Heremans. Looks like he's been able to make his way around there up on the curb. And he's got a nice exit from the outside line as well. The two of them chasing each other from white line to white line on each side of this circuit. Miller's run, though, is going to be good enough for the position into turn 4. It's late on the brakes from Heremans. Can he get it stopped in time? He can, and Miller gives him the room. Oh, he's given to it too much room. He gets onto the gravel. He tries to accelerate, and he goes around, gifting everyone a place. He's going to be outside of the top 10 for the reverse grid as well, possibly most heartbreakingly. But up towards the front, Elliot Hellier is back once again, and he is back with a win. Back into the final couple of corners he comes, and race 1 at the Red Bull Ring is going to go to Elliot Hellier. A very considered and calm drive from him to take this one by 4.5 seconds in the end. A very good drive, and he's back on track in terms of his championship with the full 40 points. Stuart Reynolds holds on to second ahead of Neil Butler down there in 3rd position, and he'll extend his championship lead to 9 points as well, as a couple of those positions get contested over the line. it's similarly unclose as well in Pro-Am as well, where the leader Chris Thacker there has gotten away from the rest. Liam Ahern nowhere to be seen, and Chris Thacker is going to win race 1 in Pro-Am. Boubier is coming under increasing pressure in the AM category in these final moments. There he is. There's the Porsche in the background as well. The Audi with not long to hold on though. It looks like he's going to manage it. The question remains, can he string a whole evening together? Because he's been doing very well in race 1 and not so well in race 2, or the opposite way round so far in the first couple of races. But this time, will it be different? He's over the line to complete part 1 of his job though. Race 1 in the AM category is going to go to Lewis Boubier. Tom Bingham couldn't quite get there, and in the end it was 3 fairly convincing victories, but plenty of battles going on behind.
Yeah, it was great to watch, but of course, respect to the race winners of Elliot Hellier. We've got Chris Thacker Chris Thacker. Yeah, I was right actually. There we go, doubted myself, but I was right in the end with P1, and of course Lewis Boubier in the AMs. They did very, very well in their respective categories. But yeah, we certainly weren't let down amongst the midfields and the fight for the podium as well. It really was some great action, and now we get to flip it all on its head in a few moments' time, and I'll go again, and then for twice the length as well. So even more action along the way.
Absolutely. Elliot Hellier will be starting it from 10th place after winning here. Stuart Reynolds holds off Neil Butler to the line. Louis Gardner with his best performance of the season so far to 4th. Kenny Hermans rounds out the top 5. Thomas Cope recovered to 6th after a poor qualifying. Jonas Dreyer 7th. Harry Wills also recovering to 8th. Adrius Yomatas in the 9th place out of Albin Kjellberg, who was yo-yoing a bit in that race, but he will get the reverse grid pole. Karen Beamer will just miss out.
Don't stop.
Thomas Dandridge will be in that 12th position ahead of Chris Chatterton. Then it will be Andy Miller who had that spin on the final lap. Kieran Smart at the final of the drivers to finish on the lead lap. There in that one. Thomas Reiter finishing a few laps down after his accident. Paul Busby with accident damage as well as Taylor Lane in that one. They're multiple laps down. And only Reiter will be getting points actually from them. Chris Thacker victorious in Pro-Am ahead of Liam Ahern, who saw off the rest of them for 2nd. Didier Vlamink with a nice performance into 3rd. BMW top 3 by the way there. Sebastian Norgran in 4th ahead of Felix Peel. Then it's Asravel Haddad in 6th, finally getting his season on track really. Simon Dodge 7th ahead of Stuart Reiners. Then Jeremy De Boyver and Lucas Romano rounds out the top 10. Very important 10th place for him there, despite the fact it's not where he expected to be. Francois Pedro is in 11th ahead of Dean Timms. Fernando Torres 13th ahead of Michael Patterman, the final driver to finish on the lead lap. Martin Buchan, after starting from the pit lane, was a lap down. But then John Williams with that accident, unfortunately, finishing 8 laps down. Daniel Merchant also finishing many laps down with Juho Huhtinen and Alex Bomberg in that race. Those bottom 3, by the way, not getting points from that one. Lewis Boubier certainly will, though. He took the win by a big margin in the end. Tom Bingham relegated to 14th with a post-race penalty. Anthony Letts and Conor Boyton are both promoted to the podium. Dirk Pouch, championship leader, recovers to 4th in what was a great drive from him. James Slate's running out the top 5 with Yamasesta Moinen in 6th. Mark Bailey 7th. Carl Pearce in 8th. Glenn Humberstone and Kurt Van Hoornacker rounds out the top 10. Then it was Jasper Starks, who just missed out on the reverse grid pole, although he didn't know at the time. Jerome Rains was 12th ahead of Craig Steele, and there you can see the penalty for Tom Bingham. Gus Franken was a lap down, as was Timo McKeown and Navarro de Boiver. Mark Oliver was as well. Thomas Reiter, is part of the pros, of course. And Tony Norgran is the driver I was looking for. He finished 8 laps down in the AM category. So that will be race 1. Drivers are invited to come and have a chat with us, and Juho Huhtinen has jumped in there, so we'll bring him in. Juho, welcome to the booth. I know it's circumstances that probably wouldn't have wanted to join us under, but just talk us through what happened to you in that race.
Oh, well, all 2 laps basically. I got rear-ended on the turn 2 and the race was over on that after that. So it was quite fast race.
Yes. I mean, yeah, unfortunate for you for it to end so quickly. It does mean you'll be starting fairly far down towards the back as well for race 2. What are you hoping for? What are you expecting from the second race?
Well, I expect that I could race 50 minutes. That would be first on this season.
Would be good to see.
Yeah.
Certainly. So we look forward to it. Good luck for the second race. I hope it goes better than the first one. We'll let you go, and
Thanks,
good
guys.
luck.
Bye.
Thanks very much. Juho Huitinen there. Unfortunate for him, really. He has had a pretty terrible time of things with luck in this season, I think it's fair to say. But yeah, there we are. It's been a difficult season for him so far. Just before we go to a break as well, we've got Chris Thacker who has jumped in as well after victory in the Pro-Am category here on this occasion. Chris, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. Just talking through what that race was like for you a little bit, because you weren't exactly closely challenged by the end, but was it a nerve-wracking experience particularly?
Thank you for having me. But yeah, for myself, I haven't been racing now for that long. Joining Eclipse was a good process to get into a league event type of stuff. So for me, I was nervous to say the least when it comes to being in front. Firstly, that was a big deal. So I had a bit of a twitch here and there. To be honest, I thought I was going to have a bit of pressure from my teammate John. Unfortunately, I don't really know what happened behind that. Gave me a little bit of a gap, but I mean, I'd look at that myself later. But that was unfortunate because we were, I think, looking at the times we were pulling away, and creating a bit of a gap to third place, which would be lovely to have a 1-2 finish. But yeah, ultimately it was massive enjoyment and a huge personal goal for myself. So over the moon.
It's very pleasing to see indeed, but it does mean you'll be starting from 10th in this next race, which is no longer right at the back, which you would have been in last season's WSL GT3 Championship, but you are right in the middle of the pack instead. So what are you expecting from this second race?
Well, expectations this year in reality was to kind of finish midfield anyway, so that's kind of where I'd expect to be. But after that performance, I'd like to see myself try and push forward, but it's going to be a different game without any, within the traffic as such will be a bigger difference. So fingers crossed we can move forward. There's not too many incidents, and after being a longer race, it's a bit more thinking about it longer term, not sort of full on great smash to the end as such. So see how it goes, but looking forward to it, and hopefully we can progress as a team in this one too.
Absolutely, looking forward to seeing you back out there again. Congratulations on race 1, Chris, and good luck for the second one.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks ever so much.
Thanks very much. Chris Thacker there, victorious in Pro-Am. And Thomas Cope has also jumped in as well to join us. Thomas, welcome to the booth as well. You started that race quite a long way down in the order, I've got to say. In that one, you climbed to 6th by the end, but you did qualify down in 9th. Were there any particular issues in qualifying, or is that where you ended up?
As the famous Lando Norris would say, just a skill issue. It's not my favourite track, I'll be fair to say. Plus, I've had probably about 15 laps of practice, just been a hectic week with work. So happy I didn't crash during the race and kept it going, really.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a bit of a similar story in this second one. You're going to be promoted to 5th for the start at least, but it won't make too much difference to you. What are you expecting from the second race?
Just hoping for a clean long race, get all the way through and score some decent points. I'm not expecting a win. Elliott showed some really good pace in that first race. I mean, 5 seconds ahead in the end pretty much. He's got some good pace in that car, and he's definitely showed he's been practicing.
Certainly has, and we'll see how everyone gets on in race 2. For now then, Thomas, thanks very much for coming to join us, and good luck for the upcoming race.
Thank you very much, guys.
Very much. Thomas Cope there, 6th place in race 1. We'll see where he gets to in race 2, and race 2 indeed is coming up very soon indeed. That's it for the interviews in race 1. We'll be taking a very short break now, but when we return, the double the length reverse grid 50-minute race here at the Red Bull Ring is coming right up. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the Red Bull Ring for the second race here of the evening. It's round 3 of the IMB World Series GT3 Championship EU Season 4. And we've had a very good first race, 25 minutes long, and now we've got the 50-minute reverse grid coming up. My name is Ian Leary. I'm alongside Zach Sweeney for the evening, and Zach, it was a decent first race, but double the length and a reverse grid coming up just to make things even more difficult for everybody.
Just to spice things up a bit. But yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. Of course, another talking point, we were saying it a bit earlier on, you can see the track length there, 4.28 kilometers. We've got 3 classes, the pros, the pro-ams and the AMs, all of which the starts have to be spaced out for. And then we've got 50 minutes and a pit stop along the way with that as well. So expect a bit of lap traffic to get involved. We saw an inkling of it at Hockenheim with Albin Kjellberg, I think, nearly getting a little bit annoyed towards the latter stage of the race. Could have very easily lost out on the race win if it didn't quite go his way. But especially around the Red Bull Ring and with race 2, it's going to be interesting to see how big of a factor lap traffic can play.
Certainly will. It pretty much did in the first race. It was only that Elliot Hellier was so far ahead of the rest. It didn't really matter, but he did overtake quite a few of the AMs in that race, and it was only 25 minutes long, so it could well be a factor once more. We are going to hopefully get through the top 10 at least in each class and the grid this time, and it's going to be Albin Kjellberg who's going to be leading them away. Arius Jomantas will be second, Harry Wills third, Jonas Dreyer will be alongside him with Thomas Cope in the top 5 as well. Kenny Hermans will be in that 6th place with Louis Gardner in 7th. Then it's going to be Neil Butler 8th ahead of the championship leaders Stuart Reynolds and Elliot Hellier, who will round out the reversed top 10 in that pro category. Then a little bit further behind, it's going to be Lucas Romano on the pole for Pro-Am. Jeremy de Boyver alongside him. Stuart Reynolds will be in that 3rd place of Simon Dodd. Esravel Haddad will be in the top 5. He's alongside Felix Pearl on that row. Sebastian Norgren will be 7th at Didier Vlamink. Lima Hearn and Chris Thacker of those who were reversed in that, or after that, first race. And then finally the AMs. Kurt van Hoornacker will be on the pole there ahead of Clinton Humberstone. Then it will be Carl Pearce and Mark Bailey. Jonas Dustermoinen rounds out the top 5 with James Slate 6th. Dirk Bouts and Connor Butting will share row 4 with Anthony Letts and Luce Boubier rounding up the top 10 in the AM category. Very interesting to see that Lucas Romano is on pole in Pro-Am and Albin Kjellberg is on the pole for the pros. It's a couple of very good drivers to be on pole position for a reverse grid, but that's sometimes what happens, and their job is just to convert that into a race win from here.
Yeah, I mean, for some of the quicker guys like Albin Kjellberg and Lucas Romano, who are very, very good in their respective classes, it's times like these where they just have to take sort of the free chance of a potential win, at least a podium you would expect, because if not, they are thrown away pretty much a golden opportunity. But hey, we've got 50 minutes of racing, and race 1 was chaotic, so I expect race 2 to be no different.
Absolutely. The pace car pulls in, and Albin Kjellberg is going to be in control of the field once he comes round its final corner, and he sees the red lights, the start-finish straight, and here they come. Not a race you'd expect to see Kjellberg on the pole of, but here he is looking to make up for a slightly slower start to his season than you might have expected. He's going to wait quite a while. He's going to try his best to react. The race gets underway for 50 minutes of the Red Bull Ring. Already contact between Jonas Dreyer and Harry Wills towards turn 1 there. But it's going to be Kjellberg who takes the lead nicely side by side for second in behind. It was very close there as Lucas Romano, not too far behind them, gets the Pro-Ams underway significantly earlier than what we saw Kjellberg do in the pros. It's to spread them out a little bit more up towards the front, and so the top 3 are going to stay pretty much where they were through turn 1. In fact, most of the top 5 or 6 will, by the looks of things, as Kurt van Hoornacker now will also be in control of the Anfield now. The green flag waves. We'll get going. Good half a lap behind the pro drivers, but it's a good start from all 3 pole sitters once again, side by side into turn 1, and it looks like they've gotten away with it. It's like all 3 classes have gotten away with turn 1 in both races now.
Just about. Really clean starts, at least so far for the opening laps, and a really good launch for our pole sitters straight away. Here's Liam Mahoney's under a bit of pressure from Dave Laming. They're both trying to work their way through and pick off some of the cars. There's also, I believe, Sebastian Norgran on the back of Ashraf El Haddad trying to make some places. But Albin Kjellberg, the best start of the 3 pole sitters, already over a second clear of Jumantas there in second place. Harry Wills just in behind him in P3. But Albin Kjellberg, he has taken this opportunity with both hands and he's trying to stretch an advantage early.
Certainly is, and he's doing a good job of it as well. You're just not able to stay with it. As, the rest of the field are staying very close together. We've got the likes of Busby right at the back of the pro field as well, which is helping keeping that entire field very close together. Kieran Smart is there as well, for example. So they're going to be some big names to watch, and it's staying pretty single file, but pretty close in the AM category as well. I feel like this is the category where we're going to see the biggest battle for a race win, because with all respect to Kurt van Hoornacker, I don't think he's one of the fastest drivers in the AM field. He is pretty quick, got a 10th place in that first race of course, but there are plenty of faster drivers behind who are going to be looking to come through, as there are in the pro field.
Very, very, you know, that's the nature of the reverse grid, of course. Oh, that's a dive from the Ferrari. That was very close to disaster. Very easily could have gone very, very wrong. But we can see now that as they run towards turn 5 and, of course, turn 6, this long left-hander and towards the double left-hander of turn 6 and 7. 2 infield sections and, you know, pretty decent actually of making some overtakes work if you're quite particular about how you do it. But yeah, Lucas Romano, we cut to him in the Pro-Ams. He's got Jeremy De Boiver for company in second place, who himself, De Boiver, after a pretty good season, it must be said, in season 3 last time, he was you know, up there pretty much race in, race out. He's not really been able to get this season quite underway to the margin that he would have wanted to. So if he can, you know, work from second place, maybe take the win or at least a podium, that's a pretty good morale boost for him going forward.
It would be for anybody, I think, as Kurt van Hoornacker continues in the lead of the AMS, although not doing much to spread out the field, not like Calvin Kjellberg is here. As Harry Wills goes side by side with Darius Yomantas now into turn 3. Later on the brake from Wills, very late on the brakes, and very early from Yomantas there, who's going to get under pressure from Louis Gardner. Finished the last race in 4th, already back up to 4th in this one. It's going to be a real challenger for this one, as Neil Butler's not really been able to make much progress, neither is Elliot Hellier, because they're both coming up against very strong drivers in the likes of Kenny Hermans right now, who is falling back a little bit, but he did get a top 5 in that first race, side by side, and the outside line for Butler there's a long way round, so the BMW is going to hold on. Butler just tucks in, looks to the inside, won't make the move there, won't be able to, looks to the outside, can't do it there either, and so will just stay behind as it's side by side up in front. Gardner looks like he has gone through, and Yomatasa is just getting his wheels blown off here by everybody. Jonas Dreyer is going to try and come through now as well. He does. Thomas Cope to the inside of 3 wide, just up in the background. He decides to back out of that one, and sensible too. But Yomantas is having a bit of a disaster here. Started the lap in second place, and he's down to 5th.
Easily done though, especially in pack racing. Once you lose one, it's, you know, quite likely you're going to lose quite a few. There's Simon Dodd, I think, going quite a little bit wide. That's going to invite Sebastian Norgran to the inside of what is going to be turn 9 after Ashraf El Haddad. Oh my word, is he going to go for 2? Norgran just about manages to avoid Ashraf El Haddad, and I honestly thought he was going to go for the dive into turn 9. Fortunately for him and for El Haddad as well, he didn't go for that, but Simon Dodd down to P6. But yeah, unfortunate for Jumantas, because especially around like a circle like the Red Bull Ring, where you have to keep momentum up, you have to keep the ball rolling. As soon as you lose one, everyone wants a slice of the cake, and already you can see him trying to make amends. He's down the inside of Thomas Cope, trying to sort of get redemption for that previous lap. He is going to run side by side with the Porsche as they dip down the hill back towards turn number 4, the 71 on the inside. There's also Stuart Reynolds trying to follow him through, but Thomas Cope to the outside. He's done a pretty good job of that one, and what's happened to Hootinen?
Oh no, don't tell me Juho Hootinen's gotten caught up in another incident. Let's see. He's gone for a spin on his own on this occasion. So at least he's still able to continue, but I was fearing the worst there. I've got to be honest, Juho's not had a very good start to the season with regards to, well, anything really, whether luck or not. It's not been going his way so far. As side by side inside the top 5 of the AM category. Seeing a slightly slower start from championship leader Dirk Bouts this time. Been under the radar a little bit so far in this event, but he's certainly to be making a name for himself a little bit later. Glenn Humberstone started second, of course, in this one, and he's falling through the order now. Lewis Bouvier's on the outside line here through turn 4. Giving each other space nicely. Nearly side-to-side contact around turn 5, which is not really a corner. Turn 6 certainly is, and Lewis Bouvier is going to make use of that to go up into 6th place. That was a nice move from him. Tom Bingham's going to try and get through as well. On Humberstone, you'd imagine. It was a podium finish for Bingham the last race. It was going to be, until he got relegated, of course, late on. He's already made some good progress in these opening moments. We go through the final couple of corners and the Anfield stays very close together. This is not close though. Albin Kjellberg is doing exactly what we thought he might, and indeed is running away from the field.
Yeah, he's doing a brilliant job out in front. 2 seconds clear, and we're not even 7 minutes in. Well, we're now about to be 7 minutes, and basically 7 minutes in. But you know, only what is 4.5 laps of racing, he's already been able to put out a 2-second gap around a 1.5 minute lap. That is really, really impressive. He's been, I think it was 0.3 quicker on that last lap versus Harry Wills in 2nd place. But then again, he has been caught up in a couple of battles as Harry Wills with the likes of Louis Gardner and Thomas Cope and the likes of those around him. So you would expect that gap to grow just a little bit. Here's Tony Nordbrand in that BMW in that Porsche trying to go the long way round and being able to do that. Up now into 16th place. Also Dirk Bouts, who is on a charge towards the front, potentially now to the outside of turn 4. That was very, very close indeed from that Porsche just in behind him. And also with Jumantas trying to still put on a bit of a fight to the outside of T1. That's very impressive. Jonas Dreyer having to play second fiddle there, but Jumantas still just about hanging on to 6th place. He's really clutching at straws really in that pack race, and this is what happened with Mark Bailey through turn number 3 over the sausage curb, and oh wow, I think he just got caught out by that car in front of him.
A little bit, but I mean, that can easily happen on your own, I suppose, as well. Those sausage curbs on the outside are a bit weird sometimes in the way that the car reacts, and certain cars are better at it than others. Admittedly, the BMW is not bad over the curves, but it was there, and around Bailey, unfortunately. Meanwhile, back in the pack in the pros, it is constantly close racing. Andy Miller's on the outside of turn 4 again. He's going to have bad memories of this, but he's been able to hold on to the car a little bit better this time. Paul Busby going to make some progress as well. You expect him to have made a bit more so far, as this is all very messy. This is Lewis Bouvier. Oh, once again, race 2s are not going, they're never going well for Lewis Bouvier. Let's see what's happened this time. He's on the outside line into turn 1. He's trying to hang it around the outside. He's gone for a spin on his own. When is he going to string 2 races in one night together? It's not going to be this week by the looks of things. He's got a lot of work to do now.
He has. He's really not doing himself any favours. Fortunately for him, he didn't clot into the barrier, so still some hope. Still a long way to go. 40 minutes still in this race. So, yeah, not over really until it's over, but unfortunate for Lewis Bouvier because, yeah, as you say, he's a very strong driver. Just unfortunately not been able to hook up a full day of racing across both races, which, yeah, you know, we've still got all season left to go, but if he wants to charge for a championship, then he's going to have to get his act together. This is Paul Busby to the inside of Kieran Smart as they run up the hill towards turn 3. They are both going to be quite equal on the brakes, but Busby to the inside gets ahead of the Ferrari going into the corner. But now we cut our attention back to this fight for 4th for the moment between Stuart Reynolds and Thomas Cope. Is the Porsche going to send the move? No, he's going to be the wise one. I think they've aimed together is to catch Louis Gardner in 3rd place, because if they can do that, they're in a shout for 2nd, and if they fight too early on now, then they've got no chance, and the best they're going to get is 4th.
Stuart Reynolds is stringing such a good early start to this season. He's together. He's having an absolutely, and especially what's been fantastic about him so far is not particularly his race 1s and raw pace, but the way he conducts himself in race 2 and how good he is through traffic is really making him a challenger, as that was very rude from Daniel Merchant. No space given to Michael Patterman at all, who's off to eat some gravel. Oh, and he's off to eat some more now. He's gone for a spin, I'm afraid. He's off the road, and I think he's got a right to be pretty furious about that, really. There he is, picking himself back up out the rocks again. And so he'll get back going, but this was quite rude, in my opinion, really, from Daniel Merchant. It didn't really give any space to the Porsche on the outside line. Yeah, there it is. I mean, yeah, I don't know how you can defend Merchant in that one, really. Patterman probably could have avoided the spin afterwards, but either way, it was pretty rude to be in the gravel in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it was already a bit of a sin for Merchant anyway, and then, you know, put Patterman on the grass and into the gravel, and then of course that had that knock-on effect that you do sort of get trapped and like hooked onto the grass in iRacing. So yeah, that second spin may not be entirely his fault, because if he maybe was given some space, then he wouldn't have actually done that himself. But hey ho, it's in the past, and of course the stewards after race will deal with it, I'm sure, appropriately. Again, turn 4. It's, you know, time and time again we're seeing it with drivers on the outside just getting bullied off, and it's not the right course of action. You know, we see it in real life in Formula 1 and time and time again really in sim racing. It is just one of those corners, but yeah, it doesn't make it any more acceptable. But still, we've got some action going on. We've got Glenn Humberstone looking to try and get the move up into P5 versus Jarmo Sastamornin. Oh my word, he thought about it, then thought about it again, backed out, and finally decided to go to the inside. But yeah, I think Sastamornin just sort of was in a bit of avoidance there. Glenn Humberstone still hanging on to P5. This is the fight a little bit further down with Jasper Tjarks going a little bit wide and now fighting with Navarro de Boiva.
Side by side outside the top 10 in the AM category. There are all the fights, and there are a lot of them, as you can see, but these guys very much removed from the front. Oh, that was a bit of contact. Jasper Tjarks went straight into the back of Navarro de Boiva there. And so they're all going to start coming through, including Luis Boubier now, who's trying to recover some of those lost positions from that spin at turn 1. We're only about a quarter of the way through this one, so he's got plenty of time, but he's got plenty of work to do as well. 14th, and I guess the advantage he has got is that everybody is still really close. There aren't many gaps, more than a second.
Yeah, and that is what we've come to expect in races like these, especially at tracks like this. This is Kenny Herriman looking now to hang on versus Elliot Hellier, who's trying to make some progress and really hasn't been able to do much with it. He's still languishing in P10 and can't quite get past Kenny Herriman, who, yeah, again is showing to be quite a formidable barrier against some of our top drivers, and still keeping our race 1 winner at bay for now through T6. But Lucas Romano, similar to Albin Kjellberg, not quite to the extent of Albin Kjellberg, who now has a 5.5 second lead. Lucas Romano with 2.5 seconds, not doing too bad at all, when with Jarmo de Boiva soon under pressure from the likes of Viners and Norgran in 3rd and 4th, could very quickly allow that gap to grow even more, but still amongst the mid-pack in the AMS, it is still kicking off.
Outside line for Luis Boubier, who's made his way through on Tony Norgran while we were looking elsewhere, and now he's trying to do the same to Navarro de Boiva by the looks of things, as Tom Bingham makes his way through on Jarmo Sastamornin. Boubier makes his way through around the outside of de Boiva, who just about manages to give him the room on the outside line there, and Boubier's through up into 12th place. Timo Makio is going to be next by the looks of things, as we look a bit back now from the Audi. BMW in behind, just looking for a way back through again, but Navarro de Boiva is just going to have to settle in here. Tony Norgran, by the way, is in 2nd in the championship coming into today, but so important to see that he is so far down in 14th position as well, especially with the likes of Conor Botting further up towards the front. This is Sebastian Norgran, who's just in behind. That Porsche is so sliding through the final corner, but it wasn't the Porsche's fault on that occasion. Norgran just seemed to not give enough space to the battling BMWs up in front and got involved in a pretty big incident there, as we got 3 wide into turn number 1. Indeed, Vlaming having something happen to him here. Getting on that curb again. These sausage curbs that are parallel to the circuit are no less dangerous than perpendicular ones by the looks of things.
Yeah, they are very sketchy. I mean, turn 1 in of itself, the car naturally really wants to go out, and there's Luis Boubier going quite slowly as well. This is probably the aftermath of that 3 wide moment. We're going to have a look. You can see Boubier on the inside, 3 wide going into T1, and oh, that is huge. That is going to sting. And well, we thought he had a bit of hope maybe after his spin through T1, but it's T1 that again has rubbed salt in the wound for Boubier in race 2. And yeah, he really, now you have to say, has not got much of a chance in the rest of this race.
No, unfortunately not. And that's happened for the 3rd week in a row now. 2nd in race 1 at Spa, 1st in the last couple of rounds, and now struggling in race 2 on all 3 occasions. That was Gus Franken who went around there in a rather bizarre incident. Wow, this is very hectic. Harry Wills coming under fire here from Louis Gardner down the inside at turn 4. And he's going to make that work in the BMW, but behind, all hell's breaking loose. Stuart Reynolds watching on from behind with these two. It's side by side in the background with Jonas Dreyer by the looks of things, who's getting down the inside of a lapped car, that is, in the BMW. Then there's Thomas Cope involved there as well. A lot of the main players in this race are involved. Jomantas is having a bit of a resurgence here. He's back involved with Neil Butler. Elliot Howyer's in there as well as Kenny Hermans as well. That was all very messy. And so was this. For some reason, Tony Norgran is off the road again. And this Porsche is struggling in those final couple of corners. Hearing from somebody in the break there that you have to run the wings so low around here because of the straight line speed that the Porsches are really struggling in the higher speed corners, of which there are those last two.
Yeah, and of course with turn 10, the racing line, there's quite a substantial dip on the apex as you run through with Rain getting overtaken by Bingham. But yeah, that Porsche through that final corner is going to be lethal because it really doesn't like to respond to sudden changes in that undulation, and that dip through T10. It's not helping the weight transfer of the car whatsoever. This is Harry Wills to the outside of Louis Gardner in towards turn 3. Can the Mercedes get it stopped? The answer to that is no. Bit of a twitch on the exit. Stuart Reynolds wants to get involved. He's got a much better drive versus Harry Wills. And as they once again run down the hill towards the downhill braking zone of turn 4, Gardner going defensive to the right-hand side, blipping just a little bit, brings it back to the left-hand side. So Harry Wills really doesn't quite have an answer to that one. Tucks in behind and is trying to go for the counter-attack, but at least for him, Louis Gardner is not quite getting away. He just needs to hope that Stuart Reynolds is willing to work with him and try and, work as a team to get past up in a second.
Absolutely, it's a very evenly matched battle, I've got to say, with all of these drivers. But it is allowing Albin Kjellberg to race out to an 8-second lead within 20 minutes here, which is unheard of, really. As Kurt Van Hoornacker is still holding on to this lead. Botting is there, along with Carl Pierce. Glenn Humberstone is made his way back up the order as well to 4th. James Slates, and there's Dirk Bouts making his way up to 6th place in the background. There he is in the BMW. You see him making his way through. I believe that's on Jarmo Sestemoinen. He's been able to do that on as it's side by side between the teammates. Harry Wills looks like he let Stuart Reynolds through there, and that's smart between the two of them really, because Reynolds wants to get away from his rivals in the race and the championship, and you get the feeling he might be just that little bit quicker than Harry Wills anyway.
Yeah, if they can do the switch quite, efficiently, then it's, slam dunk, you might as well, because Stuart Reynolds is definitely the quicker of the two, and Harry Wills might be able to use his teammate to be able to actually get past Gardner himself, as opposed to holding him up and not doing either of them any favours. So we'll see what Stuart Reynolds can do versus Louis Gardner. This is the fight between Kieran Smart and Thomas Dandridge, I believe, and you can see there on the exit of the corner, trying again to use the outside momentum, the straighter exit, and then propel yourself to go for the move. This is Thomas Dandridge on the inside. Kieran Smart trying to send one to the outside of turn 4. Is he going to get bullied off? That's how it's done, ladies and gents. Thomas Dandridge giving him a very wide berth on the outside and still emerging in front. So definitely goes to show that you don't need to use the full extent of the track to get that position.
Absolutely, as Kurt Van Hoornacker is coming under increasing pressure now from Conor Botting, who's looking for a way through here into turn 3. Middle of the road for Van Hoornacker's not going to do it. Inside line for the Audi, too late on the brakes, so he's pulled it up in time impressively, and he's got the position. That was very late on the brakes from Botting, using the uphill nature of turn 3 to slow the car down in time. Van Hoornacker had no answer to that, and Carl Pierce is going to try and follow through whoever prevails by the looks of it. Side by side again, as the BMW had an advantage in straight line speed, but no advantage down on the brakes into turn 4. And so Conor Botting is the new leader in AM, with Carl Pierce trying to make it an Audi 1-2 right now. Glenn Humberstone had a sniff down the inside at turn 6 as well, but it's going to stay 5 for the lead. Finally, though, the pole sitter Kurt Van Hoornacker has been displaced as we got first pit stop here from Fritz Perl. Another, I don't know what it is about these Pro-Am drivers and trying different strategies, but it seems to be exclusively those guys who are trying something. As these three in Pro, the battle for third, beginning to get away from the others a little bit.
Yeah, battling is always going to allow a bit of a gap to stretch. That is always going to be the case. You lose so much time, and when it's this hectic, this busy, it's going to exaggerate that difference even more. Liam Ahern going all the way to the right hand side to try and defend from Simon Dodd, who's going to go the long way around at turn 4. That is going to be a brilliant move if he can get it done. Ahern, though, with the drive off the corner, they're going to run side by side through what is going to be turn 5, though. Simon Dodd is going to have the inside for turn number 6. That's the better line to have. Liam Ahern going to be stranded on the outside. Can he keep that momentum up? The answer to that is no. He's going to have to tuck stuck in behind. Ashraf El Haddad also very interested in getting some moves done, but yeah, he's not been able to follow him through, unfortunately, on that occasion. But a brilliant move there from Simon Dodd.
Absolutely. This is Louis Gardner, who's 10 seconds off Albin Kjellberg in the lead now. It's a BMW 1-2, but Gardner's going to have his work cut out in terms of holding on to this. Stuart Reynolds is going to have a hard time seeing where he is as well by the looks of things. Outside line in towards turn 3 is going to be the option. Late on the brakes, and it's a long way round there. Gardner was very sufficient on the brakes there to stay in front, but Reynolds is going to give him a hard time into turn 4 as well, where things get a little bit more difficult. So let's see. He's going to have to be outside line again. Oh, and there's a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there. Reynolds is not giving up outside line, and now he's going to go for the switchback. He's going to trick Gardner into going in deep and then go for it through 5 and into 6, but Gardner saw that one coming. He's going to swing wide to give himself the inside line at 6, and he's going to hold on to it again. Outside line for Reynolds, and he's going to go for the switchback to the inside at 7. He's not going to be able to do it, and this BMW is proving pretty difficult to pass.
Yeah, it's a very, very wide car indeed. This is what happened. Oh no, another replay involving the Finn of Huhtinen in towards T4. You can already see a bit squirmy on the brakes, and he's lost it by himself. No, and he's got tapped for good measure. Oh, that is gutting for Juho Huhtinen. But anyway, we have to cut our attention back to the fight for second place. Getting told that I don't sound very sincere. There's Thomas Cope being spun round through turn number 9. The Porsche again getting strucky. Maybe he wanted to go into the pit lane. Maybe there's a bit of confusion, or maybe he's cutting his losses and going into the pit lane anyway. We're going to take a look. He's not to the right-hand side, so he's not intending to go into the pit lane and then just tagged around by a fellow Porsche. That is upsetting.
If we just saw the start of that replay there, if you just noticed, Thomas Cope signalled to the others that he was going to come into pit lane by. There you can see it. He's fading back to the racing line there, so he's gone to the inside, trying to signal to Hellier he wants to come in here. But Hellier just thinks he's trying to defend or something, doesn't realise that Cope wants to come in. There you can see the tight line. Thomas Cope's on the brakes there when you're accelerating out the corner, or you're meant to be, because he wants to take the tight line in. So, bit of miscommunication. Cope thought that Hellier understood the message, and clearly he didn't, so Cope went around and into the pit lane anyway. I guess if you go around anyway, you might as well go in, but that's what he intended to do in the first place. Here's Stuart Reynolds trying to get up into second place, and Louis Gardner's defending this for all he's worth. What a move that is around the outside at turn 6, and he's done it into the gravel a little bit, and he kicks up the dirt, and he's still in second place. Unbelievable defending from the BMW. Here comes Harry Wills. Oh, up in the grass. He goes to the inside line. We're nearly 3 wide into the penultimate corner. Harry Wills might have a chance to finally do this, but Gardner is no stranger to the outside line. Side by side. Oh, there's big contact now. Gardner gets almost spun around. Reynolds and also Jonas Dreyer go through, as well as Harry Wills. Louis Gardner's not going to be very pleased about that.
How is Louis Gardner still pointing in the right direction and still now moving up into third place? I think Stuart Reynolds is just going to let him through, but Jonas Dreyer, the big gainer in all of that, up in a second place. Through all of that, Louis Gardner still managing to hold on to third place, but with the slipstream now might have a bit of a chance. There's Elliot Hellier up in a 6th place, might be fabricating a move on Harry Wills. They're going to run 2 wide up the hill towards T3. Is Stuart Reynolds going to go for the dive on the BMW in front of him? Defensive goes Gardner to the outside line, breaks very late, does the Mercedes. Elliot Hellier to the inside, gets that move done. There's Neil Butler to the inside of Wills as well, but not quite able to get the drive off the corner. But wow, what a sequence of corners that was, and Louis Gardner still not only in this race, but in third place as well.
This is more like the kind of racing I was expecting to see in race 1, and halfway into race 2, we're finally seeing some of it as Elliot Hellier's down. Oh no! Jonas Dreyer's off the road. Turn 4, he just gets on the gravel as he gets on the power. He reverses into the... Oh no, he gets clipped. I think that was Chris Chatterton. Possibly it was indeed. He gets clipped. He's reversed straight into the racing line, and up and over goes Chris Chatterton. Up and back onto his wheels finally. He's going to be pretty mad about all of that, because Jonas Dreyer there just reversed straight onto the racing line, and it's had pretty disastrous consequences. You can see in the background he's going to retire from this one. Chatterton's not going to be going much further. That was all very unfortunate.
Oh, that is... wow. Yeah, that honestly left pretty speechless for that one. Jonas Dreyer just losing it all by himself. And I think we're going to take another look as to what happened. You can see Jonas Dreyer, the number 5, heading into turn 4. He is under no pressure whatsoever, just running a bit wide. And then there's the kick up of dust from the gravel, and round he goes. And that is Very, very unfortunate, but then he makes the mistake in the desperation of bring it back onto the track, whacks it into reverse, reverses on, and here's Chris Chatterton coming through. There's no way he can react to that. Does he try and commit and go left, or does he try and stick it to the right? Then Jonas Dreyer stops, and that's what catches Chris Chatterton off guard, flipped onto his roof with a ton of damage, and well and truly out of contention for this race. That really was a massive, massive bit of chaos.
Wow, yeah, Jonas Dreyer committing the ultimate sin there of rejoining, reversing straight into the racing line. Oh dear, and they've not made it back yet either, the two of them. What's happened to Harry Wills here as well? I'm not sure. It's Chris Chatterton though. This is the incident. I mean, Jonas Dreyer shouldn't have been reversing onto the racing line at all. It's not I don't think it's the problem that he stopped at all. I think even if he carries on going here, Chris Chatterton's going to clip him. Chris Chatterton goes to the right-hand side as much as he possibly can. I think Dreyer thinks that he's left a car length on that left-hand side there, but he obviously hasn't. It's had pretty bad consequences for Chatterton, who makes a pretty impressive slide on his head here. Not his head, but his roof, but fortunately, very damaged BMW afterwards, as we just saw there in those brief live pictures we got. The two of them crawling back to pit lane. And there they are, sorry sights on pit lane now. Not for a fight, probably. Probably not. But yeah, lots of damage between the two of them, and a fairly long repair as well. Oh dear, Juho Huhtinen back on our replay screen again. He's not having a good time of things. On the defensive from the Porsche, who's down his inside, and they both end up going around. That was all very awkward, and that's even more awkward. They're reversing into one another afterwards. But there we are. It happens from time to time. Down at turn 4, we've spoken about it before. It's a very difficult corner indeed. This has all changed though. It was Mercedes everywhere up towards the front of this group not so long ago. Louis Gardner's gone, so has Harry Wills, so has Jonas Dreyer, and now it's the chance for the likes of Neil Butler and Elliot Hilliard to get towards the front in the Porsches. By the looks of things, this group has changed dramatically, and it might be down to this.
Yeah, very well indeed. There's Louis Gardner on the inside of Stuart Reynolds, just about able to get ahead. 3 wide as they head in. Elliot Hilliard to the outside. Bit of a squirm from the BMW. Tags Stuart Reynolds round. Tags him round to point him the right way again. So I guess good gesture in that sense. Elliot Hilliard aborting to the outer edges of the exit of turn 3. But now we're seeing between Neil Butler, Stuart Reynolds and Elliot Hilliard and Harry Wills and Callum Beamont as well, who's somehow been involved in this. This is also kicking off the 3rd place amongst the AMs. There's Carl Pearce under pressure from Dirk Bouts and Letts and Van Hoenacker as well. There's Huhtinen, who's being lapped in this race, darting one to the inside. Oh my word, Carl Pearce pushing the BMW to the outer edges of the circuit. Here comes Dirk Bouts in that Porsche trying to push his way through, but again, huge masses of cars fighting for the podium places.
Huhtinen, by the way, is fighting for positions there. Obviously, he's pro-am though, and so not changing positions with these guys in am, but this is for an overall position though, hence why he's getting involved 3 wide. As it down the inside goes Dirk Bouts, although around the outside for Carl Pearce, it's been surprisingly successful so far around the outside, although Pearce didn't fancy it that time. He tucks back in, but I'm amazed it's taken us nearly half an hour into race 2 for us to finally see some of this kind of racing at the Red Bull Ring. We didn't see an awful lot of this in race 1, didn't see barely any of it, but now the race is all of a sudden coming alive in the second one. It's taken us nearly an hour of racing to get there, but finally we are seeing cars everywhere here. The battle for second in Pro is not going away. This one for third in AM is pretty populated as well. And there'll be a few to play out in Pro-Am a little bit later on as well. And of course, we've got the pit stops coming up soon as well. And they've already started for some.
Yeah, we've still got a good bit of action left to go. There's Carl Pearce and Bruce Letts running side by side through Anthony Bruce Letts running side by side through T1. One of them going a little bit wide. The Audi forced very wide, but now the Porsche is still keeping his nose into the inside of turn 3. Is he going to be brave enough on the brakes to get himself back into P4? He's going to be brave, but Carl Pearce on the outside, so close to contact. Who's going to get a better driver off the corner? It is going to be the Porsche, at least for now. They are going to emerge still side by side, but Huhtinen doesn't really want to spoil the fight. But there's Carl Pearce finally been able to get the drive off the corner, use that extra acceleration bonus to his advantage and stay in P4. But after through all that battle, no, he's gone round again. Bruce Letts going to say thank you, and Huhtinen's made another tap to an Audi through T4. He's really going to start to hate that corner.
He's going to start to hate this series, to be honest. Oh dear, front end damage for Juho Huhtinen, who is having a terrible time of things, it's got to be honest. Carl Pearce though, a real shame for him down there at turn 4, and he has got damage as well as Carl Pearce. You can see him in the Audi on the outside line there, trying to stay out of everybody's way, nearly into the gravel. gets away without it. But 8th place, he will be able to come in here though and we get some damage repair, which will be good news for him. As the Pro-Am field is comparatively a lot more calm. Not too many battles here, and the ones that are just 2 car battles. You can see Ibrahim and Simon Dodd fighting over 3rd place, for example, but Lucas Romano's got a very big lead, and you'd imagine with the championship lead he's come into today with, he's going to leave with a championship lead, despite the fact he only came 10th in race 1.
Yeah, he's done a really good job, of course, coming into this race on 210 points versus Felix Payel 199, and Felix Payel is at the moment, a bit of a car going off there. Is that Adriel potentially? Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. Actually, it might have been, again, not entirely sure, but on the exit of T3 where the track, rises and drops, it's quite easy to lose the rear end. This is, actually, it was maybe Dean Timms going into T3 in that BMW. Is he just going to lose the rear end over the sausage curb? Yep. Oh, round he goes. That is very, very unfortunate for our reigning AM champion. And yeah, that is, I mean, again, sausage curbs are striking. They really do unsettle the car, raise the rear end up, and around you go.
I thought these BMWs were supposed to be good on the curbs, but they're not by the looks of it. This is Thomas Cope, who's had to just get out of the way. There was a bit of hooking and diving, a bit of jinking around. He made an early stop, by the way, to Thomas Cope. I'm going to try and find out how long it was to see if it was a representative stop or not. I feel like he's a long way down for some reason. Yeah, 50-second pit stop, so clearly he had damage after that contact made with Elliot Hellier there. 50 seconds, there it is. So Yomantas, Reynolds and Miller have all made early stop, but Yomantas with the very earliest of them all, 4 laps earlier than Reynolds, despite the fact it was 2 seconds longer. He's come out 2 seconds in front of Reynolds, so Yomantas could be second by the end of this pit stop phase.
I mean, he came in quite early relative to everyone else, and because of that has really been able to benefit from it. And considering early on he did fall back through the field, so maybe not there on pure pace, he definitely is there in terms of pit strategy, definitely got his head screwed on and trying to make the most of that. We have always talked about how crucial pit strategy can be in this series, and definitely is being proven today if Yomantas can emerge in really good position, because Stuart Reynolds definitely was a front runner. Albin Kjellberg is a bit out of reach versus everyone, but 5 per second, Yomantas very much is in that. Yeah, just a little bit. Oh, there's Sebastian Norgran going off. He is quite a big contender. There's someone else going with him. That is Ashraf El Haddad, who we were talking about only just being able to get his season underway. Really good string of results so far today, but he was collected, and that is a very, very unfortunate crash.
That is unfortunate for Norgran especially. El Haddad just losing it on his own with the typical Porsche rear end. He might be about to experience it again there, but there we are. He'll be in the pit lane pretty soon. El Haddad, by the way, and he has done. Oh no, reversing out the way into somebody. Didn't expect that to happen. That was one of the leaders. Oh, it was James Slates in the AM category from second. Oh dear. James Slates is going to struggle to get down pit lane as well with the damage he's got. El Haddad looks pretty broken as well. Oh dear, James Slates is especially broken there. You can see, despite the fact there was minimal contact. El Haddad, you'd think it would be safe for him to get off the racing line. Well, because he's not on the racing line, but Slates was going wide. He was going to go round the other way, El Haddad. And I don't think you can put too much blame on El Haddad in that situation, because he was actually off the track. And it's just really unfortunate that Slates happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time there.
Yeah, and that is usually the root of most problems. In all honesty, it's just wrong place, wrong times. A lot of crashes are just people being passengers. Is that Thomas Cope amongst some of the AMs? That definitely looks like his Porsche. So yeah, really getting involved there. That could be a big dive from the BMW to the inside of T4, and that is that Louis Gardner, I think, running. Oh, that's Albin Kjellberg actually. So fighting his way through some of the lap traffic, and yeah, really getting sort of slowed down by it, but wasting no time in carving his way through.
By the way, Albin Kjellberg is posting gifs in the driver chat. I don't know why, but he's not really concentrated, and he's still got a 17-second lead right now. Only was looking at that because he was reacting to Chris Chatterton actually taking his retirement quite well, or he seemed to be anyway. He might be fuming, but he's being funny about it anyway at the moment. So there we are. But he's still in pit lane getting repairs. So's Jonas Dreyer. This is the fight for second place in the AM category. Still waiting for a lot of these to come in, by the way, but championship leader Dirk Bouts is having another good day here. Another quiet day, but a good one nevertheless. This remains to be seen. Once again, I post this question every week, but when Luis Boubier manages to string 2 good races together, then Bouts might have a problem on his hands. But for the moment, Bouvier has come into today all the way down in 12th in the standings, despite being one of the best drivers in the field. Dirk Bouts, with a more consistent approach, is leading the championship, even though he's about to lose second place to Andrew Letts, and that was a nice move around the outside.
Yeah, beautifully done.
Anthony Letts, sorry.
Anthony Bruce Letts. Yeah, I said the same earlier on. Yeah, it's great. Cheers for confusing us, mate, to be honest. But no, yeah, he's a brilliant move, and he does like his moves around the outside. Of course, did the same thing, I believe, to Lewis Bouvier, race 1 at Spa into the bus stop chicane. So he definitely knows his way around the outside and really using that to full effect. But Dirk Bouts, yeah, falling behind. Unfortunately, just for a little bit. Fortunately for him, he's got a bit of a gap back to Jan Sassamon in the green Mercedes just now going through turn 6. So not got much to worry about. This is the fight between Neil Butler and Elliot Hellier for second place provisionally amongst the pros. A couple of people into the pit lane early. These guys still stretching it out, though, for quite a while, it must be said. So going long is a strategy that we've seen before, and it's a strategy that has worked. So between the pair of them, if they just sit back and don't fight each other, definitely have a good shout.
I don't think staying out is a disadvantage anymore. Earlier it certainly would have been because of the fight that was going on for second place, but now that has died down a bit, it's not so annoying to be out there losing time quite so much anymore, because these two basically have fallen into a bit of an agreement here that they both need to get on with this right now. So they're running in tandem. You can actually see they're closing the gap to Albin Kjellberg, who's not as quick, but he's just had a 16-second head start in this fight. So there's only going to be one winner there, surely, with 13 minutes to go in this race. Leader in Pro-Am is in, that's Lucas Romano. And Stuart Brightness is going to take a brief lead there, with Liam Ahern also in from third place, just in behind. Connor Botting still yet to pit from the AM field. Came into today in third place in the standings after winning race 2 last week. He was third in race 2 at Spa. He seemingly does very well in the chaos that is these reverse grid races.
Yeah, the race 2 is always going to be chaotic, and if you can, sort of use that as a tool to really propel yourself forward, then you are going to be looking very good. Of course, with the longer distance and the more points on offer, it's better to prioritise race 2 than it is race 1, but it is a completely different kettle of fish with the reverse grid nature, the necessity for pit stops and things like that. It's pretty tricky to do really well in a race 2. We saw it last season with the likes of Alex Scherenger and people like that, who are able to come from the back of the grid straight away in the opening moments of the race and still flourish towards the top end of the order. And it's drives like that really do make a difference over the course of the championship. And yeah, well, a couple of drivers amongst the field are very, very good at fielding that skill in these races. There's Thomas Gobe getting a little bit stuck behind Jame Sastamorn, and there's Albin Kjellberg and Neil Butler and Elliot Hellier, Callum Beeman, Thomas Dandridge, Kieran Smart all into the pit lane, and that's just the top 6. So pretty unanimous on this lap. It could be that they've run their tanks dry.
Yeah, 26 laps seems to be the limit, and so they're all in here. Albin Kjellberg only 10 seconds in pit lane. That is pretty normal. What's really interesting to see is where the likes of Butler and Hellier are going to end up in this one. Only 9 seconds for them. Where's Yomantas? He's making his way down the front straight now. Butler and Hellier still on the pit limiter. They've got a long way to go, and Yomantas is going to be close here, but he's going to be 4th, is he? He is, by the looks of things. The two Porsches have done very good work together there to get up into 2nd and 3rd, and now they can fight it out between themselves.
Yeah, that is going to be the aim, and yeah, with pit strategies where it all emerges, it does quite often spread out a little bit, and that has sort of been the case with some people, taking on different amounts of fuel, having to maybe fuel up just a little bit more because they've used a bit more throughout the course of their stint. This is James Slates with a fairly stricken BMW. That front left does not look to be pointing in the right direction. Trying to go into turn 9 as if he's got a perfectly spick and span conditioned car, and going backwards over the runoff for James Slates, which, yeah, not the greatest way to negotiate that corner. Unfortunately, taking a while to get going again as well. This is also Simon Dodd down in towards T1, completely by himself. So we'll take a look as to what happened. Braking on the curb, pretty normal until he gets to the apex, and then the car just loops around right around the back of him and doing a pretty nice, impressive donut to get round, but still losing a fair bit of time.
So James Slates back on the road and, well, continues on here. This is a bizarre one. I think, by the way, and he's gone for another spin there, which is even weirder. But I think when he came in there, James Slates, he just cleared the meatball flag instead of actually taking on all of the repairs required, and so that is why his car is driving at this quite hilarious angle and into turn 1. No surprise, no prizes for guessing that was going to happen. So around he goes again. Hopefully, excuse me, hopefully he'll be back in the pit lane very soon, as traffic really now starting to play its part. Less than a minute and a half around this lap, of course. Less than 90 seconds in a lap around this track. And that is being put on show for everybody right now. There's a lot of AM and even Pro-Am drivers who are in the way of these two, and that is going to shape the fight between Butler and Hellier in these final 10 minutes.
Oh, can't wait to watch it unfold between the pair of them. You can see Hellier very late on the brakes, and that number 19 Porsche, he is really pushing the limits. And with Elliot Hellier, he needs to be beating the likes of Neil Butler and Stuart Reynolds, because being down in P12 in the standings coming into this race, he really does need to, you know, pick up the pace and string some good results in, practically pushing his fellow Porsche through T9 and definitely taking that slogan on the rear end of the 41 to full effect. He is going full send and putting the pressure on. Not got long left. Is he going to go for the move in towards turn 9, getting very close to the bumper of Neil Butler, giving him a bit of a scare, but opting to be a bit more sensible. And you can definitely tell that Elliot Hellier has got the intention of finding a way through soon.
He has, applying all sorts of pressure to the Porsche just up in front. As they run up over the line again. Yomantus as well, lurking in the background. He's only 2.5 seconds apart. He can pick up the pieces here if something goes awry. Just up in front, there's 6 laps to go, including this one now at the Red Bull Ring. And it's a very good exit off of turn 1 for Neil Butler there, so he should hold on to this lead through turn 3. A very good first corner actually, so looks like this battle might have to wait for at least one corner, maybe the entire lap. There's more traffic up in front as we go just outside the top 10 in Pro-Am, as Michael Patterman is trying to recover once more from an incident earlier on. Daniel Merson obviously having a bit of side-to-side contact with him, and he's nearly caught back up to Merson again, as that is a glimpse of somebody. Could be James Slates again off the road there at the penultimate corner, going towards the final corner. If he's not come in for any more damage, it was James Slates, and I'm very surprised he's still out there. I think he's just trying to do enough laps to pick up points here.
Barely going around the track. He needs to be moving at snail spaces to not be a danger to himself or others, but yeah, not having the best of times at the moment. This is Michael Patterman on the back of Dede Vlaming, who is uncharacteristically, get my words out eventually, in P11. He's really not had the best of races today. This is Sebastian Norgran again. The Porsche, is it through the final corner again, going for a spin? Yes, it is. Off he goes. Again, that dip is, yeah, it's not having the best of days. It's quick. It's just not very nice or consistent. And again, it happened as soon as he got to the apex. That dip downhill completely unsettled the car and really did send him round.
Now, I don't envy any Porsche driver out here today, because it looks truly horrendous to try and drive that car around here for 50 minutes. So good luck with that. James Slates is still going here somehow. He has, by the way, completed enough laps to get points now. I don't know why he's still out there. Maybe this is him retiring. Well, it's not him retiring. He's just slowing down to let some of us through. Although maybe we are hearing now he is retiring. As I said though, oh well, he's still stopped. There's just no space anymore around this very short circuit to ever get going again here, really. There's still, what, 44 cars circulating? Maybe more. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to get going again. As Thomas Cope makes up a position overall there on Francois Perdreau. He's not going to get any points for that, because that's not a pro position. It's just gained there. In fact, a number of the pro drivers are actually well out of place here, because Lucas Romano is inside the top 10 here as the Pro-Am leader. So that's plenty of pros not in the right place after a number of incidents. But just over 5 minutes to go and just 4 laps to go. We're on board with Elliot Hellier. Look at the amount of traffic up in front. Surely there's going to be a chance for the race 1 winner to get into second place in race 2 here in the next few laps.
You would sort of expect that to be the case. You can see it's a battle between 2 Porsches. Alvin Kjellberg is just taken off, as we said earlier. He's still got time to message in the Discord and have a bit of banter with everyone else. There's James Slates still going slowly, but I definitely want to have a bit of a look with what's happening with Elliot Hellier and Neil Butler. I don't know what he's doing, but as they try and negotiate their way through some lap traffic, here could be the move from the number 19 Porsche to the inside of T3. Is he late enough on the brakes? Yes, he is. But the 41 of Neil Butler goes around the outside, bit over the sausage curb, is going to emerge in front. but as they still have a couple of cars, they got a BMW and an Audi still to negotiate. Maybe Elliot Hellier is going to play to the wires, a stick behind for now, but off the track there from Neil Butler. Is Elliot Hellier going to be quite happy with that one?
You saw the BMW just in behind there. Neil Butler had to just slow on the exit of turn one ever so slightly. His exit was compromised, and so that was the first chance for Elliot Hellier, but he wasn't able to make it work on that occasion. There's going to be 2 more chances here with a couple of bits more of lap traffic. Here's Stuart Reynolds down the inside of Callum Beeman, who's had a quiet one, but he was inside the top 5 briefly there. Stuart Reynolds is now back into it once more, slightly lower down from where he's been in the last couple of race 2 appearances. Both on the podium in the last couple at Spa and Hockenheim. However, on this time it's only going to be a top 5. He should hang on to the championship lead, however, depending on what happens with Neil Butler just up in front, side by side with Martin Buchan and Simon Dodd here for 7th place. It's a great performance from Martin Buchan here to be able to get up into the 7th position. He started from the pit lane after all, as Dirk bounces up towards the inside there of Kurt van Hoornacker, and into that position again as Beeman is once again down the inside of Reynolds, and once again Reynolds is not going to let him have that one. Nearly side by side here for second as well. Elliot Hellier is not going to go for it.
No, he's thinking about it though, definitely wants to. This is Stuart Reynolds to the right-hand side of Callum Beeman. The fight for the top 5 rages on. Beeman on the outside, Stuart Reynolds trying to be late on the brakes. There's a car off in the background. I believe that's one of the Porsches. Harry Wills down to P11. We cut our attention back to Callum Beeman, who's just been able to hang on around the outside to Stuart Reynolds. But with only a couple of laps left in this race to go, you have to say this is do or die.
Certainly is. Into the pit lane for Didier Vlaminck, I'm afraid, as well as Thomas Cope now. Both of them slip outside the top 10 of their respective classes as a result, as Neil Butler continues to hold on here with only 2 laps to go. The end is in sight, the finish line is homing into view, and Butler might well just fancy his chances right now of this position, and of course a championship lead as well. If this continues as they're up right now, he would take it by about 3 points quite possibly, although I'm not sure. It's going to be very close anyway. It's going to be a good result for Neil Butler if this one just holds out, and if that fight for 5th place just holds out as well, because Callum Beeman is putting up a spirited defence with Stuart Reynolds there in that fight as well. So who knows what's going to happen there. So they've got only 2 minutes to go, side by side in the background between Glenn Humberstone and Kurt van Hoornacker, who's just trying to hang on to a second top 10 of the day. Both of these two started inside the top 3 in this race, but they've fallen back down a little bit further now.
Yeah, but they are still sort of staying with each other on track and giving us a good fight to round off this race. You can see that BMW Van Hoornacker making it as wide as possible, and we've seen that time and time again with those BMWs. They do like to defend quite harsh, but Glenn Humberstone still eyeing up that move. Still the fight for second place between Neil Butler and Elliot Hellier. Yamantas as well. Is that James States going around? Has he collected Simon Dodd with him as well? And if that is the case, I think James States is going to be in a world of trouble.
He might well be. Simon Dodd here, no front end. Slates was also around. Oh no, it wasn't Slates' fault really at all. Slates was moving slowly and he was offline, but Simon Dodd was having his own accident there, I'm afraid. And that is the end of his day, pretty much. He's going to limp to the finish, but he's not going to be in 8th place where he was before. As Neil Butler now has only 1 lap to go. He's done a very good job of not only defending here, but not even giving Elliot Hellier a chance, really, in this race. You just wonder whether Butler has trimmed his Porsche out a little bit more than Hellier has. We'll get a bit more of an idea as we go on board now for the very final lap. On board with Hellier up towards turn 1 for the final time. He throws it in on the entry, but Butler's exits are far superior every single time, and maybe this is the reason why Hellier getting in the slipstream now, but not really gaining very much as they go up towards the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. He looks towards the inside at turn 3. He's not going to be able to do it.
He's not, but he's got one more opportunity. You have to argue on to the final lap of this race, down in towards T4. Bunch of lap traffic in front of him as well. So Elliot Hellier really got his work cut out from keeping an eye on Albin Kjellberg as well as he rounds off the lap. But Elliot Hellier, is he going to go for the dive in towards T4? Is he close enough to send it to the inside? No, he's not. He's going to have to play second fiddle. And you have to say, as the corners tick down, so too do his opportunities. And Neil Butler might just hang on to it if he can keep it clean.
might well do. It looks like he will as well, and possibly take a championship lead. Albin Kjellberg, though, is going to right a few wrongs here today with this win. Into the final corner he goes, and race 2 at the Red Bull Ring is going to go to him. A slow start to the season for Kjellberg. He's putting it right now. Barely a celebration from him as he crosses the line. He knows that there's more work to do in this season, but he'll enjoy this victory for now, as Neil Butler will hang on to second place just about, will he? Into the final couple of corners. Hellier throws everything at it into the final corner, especially he slides out, but he won't get there. Neil Butler will take second, and he'll take the championship lead as well, as Stuart Reynolds finishes outside of the top 5. Possibly for the first time this season, could be the second time, but it doesn't happen very often, as Lucas Romano certainly doesn't not win very often either in the Pro-Am category. He's leading the championship there. He'll only extend that today with a nice victory here in race 2, making up for what was slight disappointment in the first race. And I believe we have already seen the AM winner come over the line. Liam Ahern beat Stuart Reynolds to second place there in Pro-Am. We've already seen the AM winner, Conor Button, come over the line. He has taken that one by good 3 seconds ahead of Tom Bingham, who recovered very well through the field from 11th to get up into second place in the AM category. Navarro de Voiva on the podium as well, holding off Letson Sastamoinen right towards the end there. But what an entertaining second race that was. Here at the Red Bull Ring, still waiting for a few drivers to come across the line, including the likes of Thomas Cope and Michael Patterman. But that race did finally see the racing that we were expecting to see in this event, Zach.
It was a fantastic race throughout, really. Especially when the pit stops got going and we had that final sort of 10-15 minute showdown, it really was fantastic. And it's a shame that Albin Kjellberg was so dominant. No disrespect to the Swede whatsoever. He completely deserves it. And we said at the start how much he deserves that victory. But yeah, honestly, if we had the action that we had for a fight for the race win, that honestly would have made it even better. But the standards are always so high with this series, and they always deliver.
Absolutely. Neil Butler, 18 seconds adrift from Kjellberg. By the end, he held off Elliot Hellier for second. Yomantios with a great strategy to get to fourth today, ahead of Callum Beeman and Stuart Reynolds, who battled to the line. Andy Miller was seventh, and Thomas Dandridge and Kieran Smart, the final driver to finish within a minute of the winner. Harry Wills rounds out the top 10 with Thomas Cope. Kenny Herman's finished 1 lap down. Chris Chatterton is in that 13th position with Louis Gartner in the 14th place. Then it was Jonas Dreyer and Paul Busby rounding out at the field. So Lucas Romano wins in Pro-Am by nearly 7 seconds ahead of Liam Ahern. Then it was Stuart Reynolds in the top 3 ahead of John Williams, who recovered to 4th, and Chris Thacker, who got from 10th to 5th. Jeremy De Boiva just missed out on the top 5 there ahead of Martin Booking. Somehow Simon Dodd finished 8th with all that damage to his car. Francois Pergeron and Daniel Merchant round out the top 10, with Dean Timms and Michael Patterman rounding out the cars and finished on the lead lap. Didier Vlaming with that late stop finished a lap down with Alex Bomberg and Felix Payot. Sebastian Norgran was 6 laps down with Eshraf El Haddad. Those two came together in the race. Juha Huustonen once again many laps down, couldn't complete the 50 minutes with the rest of the field, but he did score points at least for that round, albeit the few you get for 18th position. And finally, the AM category. We'll move on to the win for Conor Botting. The smallest winning margin of the 3, even though it was 3 seconds. Tom Bingham second as of Nora de Voiva, who held off Anthony Letson and Yama Moinen for third. Jerome Rains was 6th ahead of Dirk Bout's championship leader. Kurt Van Hoornacker went from pole to 8th in that one, but he can be pleased with his evening. Timo McKeown and Craig Schill round out the top 10, with Tony Norgran and Glenn Humberstone on the lead lap. Louis Bouvier 1 lap down and 13th. That's the story of his season, especially in race 2 so far. Jesper Starks 14th out of Carl Pierce, who was 15th. James Slates crawled to 16th by the end out of Mark Bailey, who won't score points, and neither will Mark Oliver after that race. That's it for the racing side of things here at the Red Bull Ring, but a few more interviews before we leave you tonight, starting with Stuart Reynolds, 3rd place in the Pro-Am category by the end of that one. Stuart, welcome to the booth, good to have you here. Talk us through what that race was like just a little bit. We didn't get to see too much of Pro-Am because I've got to say it was the possibly least hectic of the other 2 classes, of the 3 classes, where the other 2 were really manic. But what was your drive like to 3rd place?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, it was okay. We all got spread out for a bit, so but I'm happy with P3. Quite happy with that.
It's not a bad result at all. And we haven't really had a chance to speak to you so far this season, so I guess how have you been finding the first 6 races of this championship?
I missed the first 2 because I was away on holiday, and then last week I had an absolute mare. I hit the wall in race 2 and had the same amount of time as left of the races and repairs.
Yeah, never ideal, particularly. But it's good to see that you've had a bit of a better time of things here at the Red Bull Ring. 3rd place, congratulations on that one, and thanks for coming to talk to us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys.
So much. Stuart Reiner's 3rd place in race 2 here at the Red Bull Ring. Speaking of 3rd place, Elliot Hellier was also 3rd, this time in the Pro category here in race 2. Elliot, welcome to the booth. We'll start with race 2 first, since it was most recent. And 3rd place, couldn't quite get through on Neil Butler towards the end. What would you quite put that down to, the fact that you couldn't quite get through?
I mean, the second race was a bit frustrating, to be honest. It was just impossible to pass anyone. And to be fair, Neil had super pace, so I think it would have been really difficult anyway. But you could see throughout the race that there was just a train of us, for however many laps. It was those Mercs and BMWs especially, so fast in a straight line. So it was good fun, but frustrating at the same time.
Absolutely, but I bet race 1 wasn't very frustrating for you. Victory in that one, and it was by a good few seconds as well. Were you surprised at the margin that you managed to build quite so quickly?
Yeah, to be honest, I think I got pretty lucky actually. I got quite fortunate that Stuart made a bit of a mistake and let me through, and then Neil was kind of hounding him for the rest of the race. So I think they let me off a little bit. I didn't have the best pace here, so. To come away with P1, P3, I'm ecstatic with that, to be honest.
It's a very good evening for you indeed. So congratulations on that double podium here tonight, Elliot, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us.
No worries. Thanks for having me, mate.
Thanks so much. Hey, 1st and 3rd here on a very successful evening at the Red Bull Ring for him. That is just about going to do it from us, though, by the looks of things. 2 fantastic races, Zach, and in 1 week's time, same place, we're going to be at Interlagos. The iconic and legendary circuits just keep coming this season.
Oh, we really do have a stellar calendar lined up, and it's great, and we have it back to back all the way up until just before race number 9, before we have our break week. We had it halfway through the season last season, but no, we get 8 weeks of racing action before we finally take a breather. And the calendar, the tracks that we have, Interlagos next week, we'll focus our attention on that. In the world of any motorsport, Formula 1 particularly, it's hosted fantastic championship finales, iconic moments. The track itself is just so fantastically poised to have really good racing action. It is also quite on the short end as well, so expect to have a bit of chaos in terms of lap traffic there as well, but really looking forward to it. And if it's anything like today, especially race 2, because it got to one point, I looked at the timer and it was like, we've only got 5 minutes left to go, and I was taken aback a bit. I was like, time's gone really quickly, and that is sort of the scenes that we do love to see. And if it's the exact same at Interlagos, then definitely do sign me up.
It's going to be a very interesting race indeed, so make sure you join us. It'll be same time, same place for the IMB World Series GT3 Championship EU, but don't forget to join us as well in just 3 hours time, as the US version of this championship will be getting underway here at the Red Bull Ring as well. Very much worth tuning in for that, even if it is a bit of a late night for everybody in Europe right now. But thanks so much for joining us. For those that have been tuned in throughout the evening, I've been Ewan Leary. Zach Sweeney has been alongside me, and David Christie has been behind the cameras. And until we see you either in 3 hours time or indeed next week for Interlagos, it's goodbye for now.